Recently we saw, didn't we, the arrival back into the United Kingdom of Prince Harry for the High Court. This was his ongoing battle with associated newspapers, and everybody was shocked that he turned up, allegedly, without much warning. As we told you before, there was a bit of warning, of course, because that's how the media knew to be there, making sure that they captured him going in and out of the court for testing time. A lot of people, of course, though, were saying, well, it's strange, isn't it? Is this the very first time we've ever seen a member of the British monarchy literally inside a royal court? And that could be, again, actually in May and June and July, should these cases move forward. But actually, it's not the very first time that a member of the British monarchy was indeed inside a British court. If you cast your mind back now over 100 years, when you think about it, this was the scandal of the day. Of course, the biggest scandal really was this way back, because this featured the Prince of Wales, otherwise known to Queen Victoria, the reigning monarch at the time, as her son Bertie. Now, Bertie, as we know, was one of those royal scandals just waiting to happen. And this particular scandal was absolutely huge in itself, resulting in the Prince of Wales actually appearing, yes, in the royal courts. This was highly embarrassing for Queen Victoria. She was none too happy about it at all, but seemingly couldn't do much, as she pointed out, with her son. Now, it's interesting to note that really he didn't mind, in fact, being, shall we say, called upon. But was it truly for what he was truly called upon? Or in fact, were they hiding something else? As ever, let me explain. This really centres upon a lady called Harriet Moncrieff. She was the daughter of a Scottish baronet who decided to wed a man 12 years her senior, Sir Charles Mordaunt, who was a wealthy member of the English landed gentry, who spent a lot of his time doing the things that they did then, shooting, fishing and hunting. But the vivacious Harriet had little taste for these occupations. So while Sir Charles was off slaughtering wildlife, Harriet filled her time with a series of lovers. Some say the Prince of Wales. It was only when she gave birth to a blind baby daughter, Violet, in February 1870 that she confessed that he, her husband Sir Charles, was in fact not the father, and blamed the infant's affliction on something else, a disease. The downside of Lady Mordaunt's defence was that she was declared insane and locked away in an asylum for the remaining 35 years of her life. But was Lady Mordaunt truly mad? The tabloids of the day basically speculated that Bertie, the Prince of Wales, was in fact the father. And actually someone else came forward to, shall we say, take the blame for this particular incident. So much so that money was changing hands left, right and centre. And in today's money, it would be the equivalent of around £167,000. A lot of money back then. Now, why did the Prince of Wales appear in the royal court box? Well, quite simple. He was there to not apparently take claim for anything like that, but to stand up for her virtue, saying what a nice lady that she was, and more importantly, do not believe necessarily the negative arguments that were put forward by Sir Charles Mordaunt and others. Sadly, even his declaration from the court box could not save her for being locked away for many years. What's fascinating here, though, is when you think a lot of people basically tolerated Bertie's behaviour, and even on his deathbed in 1910, the bottom line was simply this. His wife, Princess Alexandra at the time, had to allow a very special box at his funeral for what he called his wifelets, his many mistresses. And as we know, on his deathbed himself, she very graciously allowed his favourite mistress, Alice Keppel, to be at his bedside to pay a very final goodbye. Now, when you look in the history books, Alice Keppel is indeed related to someone very relevant to today's royal scandals. Oh yes, as they often say, history truly does simply repeat itself. So while everybody thought that Prince Harry was the only person to appear so far, at least in this particular decade or in this particular century, within the royal courts of justice, it simply wasn't the case. The bottom line was, it's all been done before, albeit slightly forgotten. Neil Sean in the very heart of London.